Hey guys, this is Marcia Riner and with Profit with a Plan podcast, and I'm super excited to have my guest on today, Rich Edwards. We're going to be talking about AI, but AI from the data point of view and how you can protect your company, how you can get involved, and how you can really make a movement using this awesome technology in your business. So join us on Profit with a Plan podcast. Hey entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? If you're like most of us business owners, increasing your profitability is always on your mind, and you're probably looking for ways to grow your revenue while growing your company. Well, you found a podcast that shares ideas to help you do just that. I'm Marcia Riner, known as the Profit Booster and a business growth strategist. I've helped tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability, guides your growth, and plans for a future exit. Because building a highly profitable and sale-ready business creates a win-win scenario. That's more money now and a windfall when it's time to let go. And I want to share strategies that I've learned with you on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. But before we get started, I want to invite you to a really powerful training. It's called the 30-Day Profit Booster. And this is where I'm going to show you how you can get a 45% boost in net profitability in just 30 days, simply by following a 3-step method that doesn't require that you're chasing more customers. This quick and easy profit boosting strategy can be done without spending more money on marketing, hiring additional staff, or working longer hours. So go check it out at 30dayprofitbooster.com for more information. All right, so my guest today is Rich Edwards. He is the CEO of Mindspan Systems, which helps companies transform themselves with data-driven strategies and technologies. Rich has worked extensively in the banking and insurance and financial service clients worldwide during his time at IBM in the data center automation and artificial intelligence. Rich has a bachelor's in science in engineering from Rensselaer Polytech Institute and a bachelor's in business administration from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So Rich, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to have you on today.
Thanks for having me, Marcia.
Yeah, awesome. So, there's AI on just about every street corner now. I think it's turning into kind of like Starbucks, right? So it's the new word that is here for 2023, and I think business owners are either embracing it or they're not embracing it, but I don't know that they're doing it in the right way. So I invited you on today to have some great conversations about AI and really how it can really utilize the business, but also talk about the scary side of it, maybe the risk side of putting your information into AI or using the information and not getting the right results from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's going to be a great conversation. But how in the world did you your experience with IBM, but how in the world did you, really tap into AI and data?
Yeah, for me, it's really kind of more accidental. I kind of fell into it. I worked in software at IBM for probably, I'm trying to think, 8 or 9 years at the beginning of it, and it turned out a lot of financial services and banking clients. It was in data center automation, very large data-driven deployments, things that are, they could talk about systems of record, which is like the core of very large government organizations, things like that. And I did that for a certain amount of time. And around 2013, I got tapped to go work in what would become the IBM Watson business unit. And this was kind of a little after the whole Jeopardy challenge thing that kind of got a lot of noise, and they were starting to commercialize it. And, it was very services led at the beginning, and they wanted to create a whole product portfolio, particularly things that people could build on top of. Mm-hmm. And, my involvement, at least at the beginning, was I kind of knew how to get things done inside a large organization like IBM, particularly bringing like brand new products to market, which is difficult, particularly for a very old company like that.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like the IBM process whisperer to begin with, but because I had this background in particularly banking and financial services, I was increasingly getting tapped to be the guy to go talk to the banks and financial services and like the large government agencies about what we were doing and what we were trying to do. And so that was about 4 years of just drinking from the biggest fire hose I think I've ever been confronted with at that point, and really having to go like very, very deep into the technology, the state of the art that it was. Going to like every conference there is, and so it became this like massive, massive education for me. And that's kind of where it started for me, and I went along that and did that for about 4 years, and it was kind of time to do something else at that point in my career. And where I was that I kind of wanted to be an entrepreneur and a small business owner for a while, and I was kind of like, look, man, you're not getting any younger. Like, if you're gonna do this, this is probably about the time to do it. And so, in 2018, I left. 2017, I left IBM and went kind of looking for a company to either join or buy. And my idea was, I was really looking. I like clearly saw like or believed in the future of AI. Like I knew this was going to have a big impact. And what I wanted to find was a company that had kind of the foundational skills that would be needed to really take advantage of that. And for me, I said it's going to be around the data management and the data governance and data engineering that kind of goes underneath a lot of the subsystems. And I'm looking for something that was in an industry where data was valuable. And that kind of naturally points you towards regulated industries, which is largely like banking and financial services and healthcare. And I found Mindspan Systems, which kind of had, ore in both of those waters. And was the founder, who was still running the company after like 15 years, was kind of ready to go do something else, and didn't want to continue going on that path. And so he and I, kind of switched places, as it were, and I took over the organization then. And really we've been off of the races ever since. So that's kind of how I got here. But that sounds way more planned than it actually was. It was kind of more happenstance for most of it.
It's funny how so many entrepreneurs come out of corporate, they decide they're done and then they move forward. So you're a very typical story of a successful entrepreneur that has the structure of corporate and takes it on the road. So I love it. But it was interesting, the thing that popped out that I think a lot of business owners aren't really fully grasping, that Watson, way back when in 2013, 2014, they were the trendsetters on AI and understanding, having computer learning come in and manage the data that is going through and help you make great decisions on it. And so many of us this year, because AI and OpenAI source, just came out within the last 12 months and released, and having access to it. And we're in there asking it really stupid questions, where you guys have trained it to do so much more in detail to it. So it's interesting that, we're all still on the front lines of a new era, but it's not really that new. It's been around for quite a long time.
You can look at the roots to, computer science and things that begin to look like artificial intelligence going back to the 60s. And there's this period of like, there was a lot of enthusiasm in the 80s, and then entered into this area that they called the AI winter, which was kind of like none of the promises came true, right? They kind of thought there was going to be this great thing, and it didn't happen. And there's reasons for that. There's like, both science and economic reasons. And, really the big ones are, from an economic standpoint, you really didn't have access to the compute power that we have today until you saw the growth of cloud computing. So the growth of services like Amazon AWS and Microsoft Azure and Google GCP, those type of services that we all rely on now, really needed to have like the better part of a decade to really kind of mature and grow up to where, there was a scalable access to the level of compute power that a lot of these services require. And then the other piece was kind of more really on the hardware side. And that was the advent of what's called the graphical process unit, or GPU, which most people kind of understand is like the thing that does the graphics in a computer, like on a PC or something. And for a long time, their whole business was about gaming. because, graphical processing for games, particularly like real-time rendering, kind of lend itself to this doing things in parallel, doing the same thing at the, splicing it up and doing all those calculations in parallel. And then they had a jump into a lot of demand that came from cryptography, particularly cryptocurrency. And that was kind of like the big drive. And all of the time, like the demand is feeding more investment and more development. And it was really that capability that probably about 10 years ago really enabled companies, a little bit on Intel, but like NVIDIA was the big player there. And if you want to look at an amazing story, look at their stock price for the past couple of years, and you kind of see where a lot of this has come to fruition for them. But they did a lot of very smart things with how they created an ecosystem around their technology, their chipsets, and the software to be able to take advantage of it. And that was like a big step forward. That was a big leap. And then the other one was really the development of transformers, or the transformer methodology. And like when you hear like Chat GPT, the T stands for transformer. And that was really an invention that came out of Google in 2017. And it was really like a lot of big bets were made on that kind of took a couple of years to really start to pick up and take off. And so we're really just seeing now where all of that is kind of coming together to make these like really amazing capabilities available to everybody, like very, very accessible. So it really hasn't been so much, hey, just give it time and, we'll eventually figure it out. Like there has been some big stepwise functions that have happened that are kind of all converging right now that makes this available, that makes it possible.
And it's so exciting, right, to hear the history of it, but really the future of where AI can really support businesses and everyday businesses, not the big mega companies that you have to have invested, tons of people and technology and money into. It's like us everyday little people can log on to a free or a $20 program and run complex problem solving and ask it to go out and gather data for you and process it in a matter of seconds, which to me has been such a time saver and value to my company and to my clients, where I would in the past have to say, okay, let's go do research, let's think this through on our own two heads, right? And now we put the mind of the processor, right, the GPT, to work to be able to go, oh, well, here it is. And it's like, wow, really? That just saved me 4 hours of looking at a white cursor trying to pound this thing out myself.
Sure.
And now I have a good starting point to go, okay, now let's tweak it. What if we did this, right? And for me, it's just been a complete game changer. But I think what scares me and what scares a lot of people out there are, iRobot coming to take over the world kind of thing. But more along the lines of, I talk to a lot of attorneys and IP people and this kind of stuff, and we're thinking, I'm putting my content and my proprietary stuff into AI to help me solve a problem and improve it, and maybe solve a problem for my clients and improve their experience. But now I'm putting my data out there. And so where does that protection line come in for the information, my proprietary systems or methods, or even client data that may get access because I've got ChatGPT working in my favor?
Sure. Yeah. And I will say this is a complicated issue and not one that has like an obvious answer to it. If you look at some of the big providers out there, I'll use Microsoft just because they're one of the big players.
Sure.
They're a big backer behind Open API. Had a big role in all the nonsense that happened on their board structure and governance standpoint. But like they're the ones that are probably the most forward from a marketing and offering standpoint, like what they're able to do. They've made claims around when you work with some of the offerings that they obviously work in conjunction with OpenAI on in their environment in Azure. and these are more the enterprise offerings at this point. They're promising we don't look at your data. We're not going to train on it. They're even offering some fairly high level compliance um, uh, guarantees. So for healthcare data, they have a HIPAA compliance version. What they complained at, what they claim to, and also on the finance side, SOC 2 is one of the bigger ones. I haven't read any of the like white papers around it, and that's usually what they put out there to kind of prove it. So I have no reason to doubt what they're doing, but like that's kind of the premium offering is we'll give you all of the capability, but keep your data only in this single instance for what you're doing. Keep it available only to you and not have it leak out into anything else that we're doing. It'd be interesting to see exactly how they do that. Because if they're doing it as like we're giving you your own isolated instance, you have to understand how fantastically complicated and expensive that would be.
Right. To just stop the search, right? And put up walls around your data
Sure.
so the search
Yeah.
can't come in and get it for someone like me who's trying to copy something or create something that,
Right.
I can imagine that it's just crazy.
Yeah, the concern is probably less around like the nefarious somebody's hoovering up all my data and it's going to be available to my competitors or somebody that I don't want. It's more the the term is they'll talk about leakage, right? That it kind of seeps out and finds its way into other training sets or model weightings or other elements of how they're using the data, the training data, and ends up in a place that you didn't want it, and totally by accident, right? Totally by just the nature of like how some of the things are working together, how the infrastructure that's like 1-2 layers down from what you see as part of the interface, how that works. So that's a very real concern. I think it's a very convenient excuse to not do anything for a lot of organizations. And I think that's a mistake.
You mean
The way
avoiding using the
right,
tools
to say
and so on because I gotta
correct.
protect my
Yeah,
stuff, right?
easy to kind of do nothing, to say, look, I'm not a technology company. I'm not differentiating what I'm doing on my technology or my approach. I do this other thing. I'm a coach. I'm an agency model. I'm, an outsourcer. I do, right.
You're gonna be left
Right.
behind is what's gonna
Well,
happen.
maybe,
Highly
right?
probable.
Sure. I think this is going to be, I mean, the way to think about it is, this is a big technological shift and one that's going to have much broader impacts on society, from how we do business, from how we work, much like, start thinking backwards, right? 08, 09, it was mobile, right? The
Exactly.
introduction of the iPhone and just the way that created like whole new channels for how business got done, whole new business models that were not just mobile enabled, but mobile first, sometimes mobile only. Tremendous amount of opportunity, and like changed the way people do things, right? You think about like the business model that's behind even like Instagram, right? Instagram was mobile only for, I forget, the first number of years.
Yeah.
Tremendous company, huge. Just Uber would not exist if it
Exactly.
weren't for the capabilities of the very smart GPS enabled smartphone that was in your pocket, right? So like that is an example of like the type of impact. Go further
Yes.
back, look at just how everything kind of became computers and the incorporation of like just the PC level capability that businesses saw in the kind of late 80s, early 90s. Go further back, you begin to look at like electricity as like the similar idea, right? And the
Yeah.
whole thing is what every one of those ones, people, companies would say, well, we're now computerized. I've skipped one. I can't believe the internet, right? Obviously like late 90s, and I forgot one, but so you kind of say like, we're a business, I'm a whatever agency. Now I'm a computerized business, right? And that became a thing. That became a way that you would differentiate that you had this capability.
Exactly.
And then after a while, nobody said that anymore because
It
everybody
was
did.
just
It just became a
assumed.
part, right? Same thing with the internet. We're this business and we're on the internet. We're whateverplus.com. And that became this novelty. And then that went away. And we're mobile. We're a mobile company. Now that's a given, right? That you're going to have the ability to service your customers some way via mobile. AI is going to be the same way, right? You see a lot of now, like we're AI enabled. We're an AI company. Sure. Probably a lot faster than everything else happened. You're very quickly going to get to the point of that's just the way business gets done. It's just expected. And the advantages that come to customers from a cost standpoint, from a personalization of service standpoint, from the level of insight that they're able to kind of get that's embedded, that intelligence that gets embedded in the offering, even if it's like a delivery app, right? Something so as simple as that. That's just going to be a given. That's going to be table stakes for doing business. So there's this element
and it's
of
happening. It's happening. I find at an incredible rate of speed that it was like, when you just took us down history lane, there was like, okay, there was like 20 years to implement. There was 10 years to implement. There was 5 years to implement. There was, 3 years to implement. Now we're at months to implement. Before you have to catch. And so that innovative thought process that businesses have to have and to stay active in gaming, just because their customers are accustomed to the product line that you have to implement it in. It's not necessarily it's going to improve my service, but it could. So some of the things that I'm seeing that AI is doing some really fantastic stuff with, and not to scare, employees out of the world, but they're taking and streamlining processes and systems and even communicating like it sounds like it's a person, right? It looks like it's a person, but it's the intelligence that's actually doing the follow-up or customer service or Q&A or those basic lines of questions that can be answered by artificial intelligence instead of having a human on the phone that you've got to pay a salary and benefits to. So I mean, these kind of things, could replace and come down the line in the future. And I mean,
or I would say we're
help
not
the customers.
We're not there yet.
No.
Meaning anybody, like, here's the thing. If you haven't played with it, go play with it. Go do it. Go, go to chat.openai.com. Try it, right? Just to kind of play around with it and see what it is. And one of the things you find out is one, it's magic. It does some really cool stuff. But if you pick at it and go down the rabbit hole a little bit, you'll bump up to the edge pretty quick and you'll go, oh, okay, here's where not having the context of what my business is, what I do, how I approach things, I've hit a sharp edge where it's not quite there. And the mistake is to say, not there, not yet, I'm out, right? Like this thing is not going to take my job or it's not going to replace my business. And that's true for now. What is not true, though, is that somebody who takes advantage of this, not as a complete wholesale replacement for the human capital that's in their business, but uses it as an accelerator to make their people more efficient, more focused. And really the magic is to have more empathy for their customers, more insight. There's a good prediction, and I forget who made it, so I can't credit them. But it was basically saying within a certain amount of time, nothing written down to anyone, particularly like a customer, will be generic. It will all be written for that person. And not just let's put their name at the beginning of the email, the tone of the email, what it's in there, the context of who this person is, your relationship with them, what you know from them, from how they've dealt with you in the past, all of these things that kind of get into tone of the best person who does this job, your best customer service rep, your best salesperson, your best consultant or agency rep who has known this person and had a relationship with them for 5 or 6 years. How would they communicate with them? How would they reach out to them? Right?
Exactly.
Having that level of insight, that level of being able to create a real connection to them, not autonomously, but maybe helping that person dealing with them to say, no, 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 let me make a suggestion here for how you should do it. In this situation, might also want to consider these things. All the way back to real simple things of like, what's the next best offer for this customer based on what
Love
we
it.
know about them, based on their transactional history? Am I using that information to serve them better, not
Mhm.
just to strip away cost out of my business? That ability to kind of like interact with them and do things that you can't do today because it's impractical, because it's too expensive, that's where the real opportunity is. That's a real
And
way
that's
that you can kind of
fantastic.
transform your business. Yeah. A really
That's
good
really
analogy.
truly fantastic. Because if you think about it, with the changes over the last year with Apple removing tracking and shopping
Mhm,
privacy laws that
mhm.
Apple
Yeah.
started to play in marketing for their on, and because you could see that here you go onto Google, you search for something. So then for the next 2 weeks, you're getting ads from Google that,
Mhm,
on the thing you search for, even if it was doing a favor for somebody else. And now it's all you see, right? So the computer's learning what your interests are as a consumer, right?
mhm.
And to be able as a business to utilize that data to improve, not to replace, and I love the way you said that, but to improve your relationship with your customer and to know what buying signals they have, what ideas they're looking for, what the next logical thing is that they need. These are fantastic and amazing directions that we can utilize or begin to utilize with even as a small business owner and not having to be this major enterprise player that has the deep pockets to pay for it.
Sure. Yeah.
It's accessible. And
Mhm,
I think that's what excites me so much is it's like things that I didn't even think of that I can put in. And again, with ChatGPT, I've said it in the past, garbage in is garbage out. So you have to know how to ask it the proper question and seed it with information about you and your company so it
mhm.
knows how to utilize that. But the data that helps you make really good decisions and improve your relationship with the customer in a highly, highly, highly commoditized world. Wow, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A really good analogy and a way to kind of think about the possibilities or what makes a good use case is you think about like the summer intern, right? Somebody who comes to you from college, they're eager, they're earnest, they're literate, they can follow instructions, but they don't know anything about your business. They don't know anything
Mhm.
about the background, they don't know anything context, they don't know anything about your industry, right? But if you give them very clear instructions, even from like a research standpoint, like, hey, here's this very long industry report. Maybe it's a report on a competitor. Maybe it's something from one of our trade organizations. Read this whole thing. It's 40, 50 pages long, but give me the gist. What's the important part? And they come out and go, well, here's point one, point two, point three. Great. You know, how can we utilize that in maybe our customer communication or how we interact with a customer or best practice from what we're doing? Where's the application to that? Go figure that out, right?
Right.
That's a good way to frame this, right? But the way to think about it is you don't have one intern, you probably have 1,000 that are at your disposal. And they're
That don't
really
sleep,
good.
don't
Yeah,
eat,
yeah,
don't
sure.
complain.
But they're really good at following instructions, and you can have them work in concert without creating a whole lot of overhead. So
Mm,
if you think of somebody who that frontline service employee, the frontline retail worker, right? If they had 2 or 3 assistants that were there, that were able to whisper in their ear or throw a message in Slack or something to add that little bit of information that says, you should also think about this. I'm going to
mm,
coach you through this thing that you're doing. Um,
yeah.
it- that is a big multiplier from the skill level that you're able to make accessible to your customer. That's probably disproportionate to what you're actually hiring and training for, right?
Mm,
It's that ability to kind of add 1, 2 years of experience to them, to like the quality of interaction that they have, that they're more more empathetic, more understanding of their customer because they have this additional intelligence that's bringing into them, right? That's being kind of
love it.
added to them that you're capturing from what you're doing. That that now you begin to see like what the real potential is, and like how you can really transform what you're doing and transform your customer's experience.
Love it. This is totally a fantastic direction and that's what I love about my podcast is we can go just about anywhere in this conversation. And we have, but it's been so informative. It's been so eye-opening and really thought-provoking, even for me, who's dabbles in AI just about every day to help improve my business and my clients' businesses. But it's like, ooh, the potential and the opportunity to make things easier and better for both sides of the party is just so exciting for me right now. And I'm not the one that has the fear of AI coming in and taking over and doing that. I'm looking at it from a very helpful, like you said, group of interns that are going to come in and make my business run better, feel better, and engage better with my clients. And so why not? Why not utilize this tool that is basically free right now and can shortcut a whole lot of processes that we have? So I just love it. So Rich, you've been a wealth of information here, and I know we can probably go on for about 4 hours on this conversation and have it just, keep everybody listening on the edge of their seats. But where can listeners find out more about you and how they can maybe manage AI in a better way and bring it into their business?
So my company's Mindspan Systems. We're at mindspandinc.com. We tend to gear towards banking and financial services, but I'm always happy to kind of talk to people and talk about methodologies and technology, which is a constantly changing situation. We have a pretty good blog there that we kind of write on and to kind of talk a lot about this. And if you want to reach out to me personally and have questions, LinkedIn is probably the best place to reach me. And I'm Rich Edwards on LinkedIn.
Nice. Well, thank you. I know that it's in an ever-changing environment like AI, to have resources and people and experts, even if it's in a different industry, data is data. And how do you get the information that you want to use, and how do you, use it in your business in a way that can benefit you and speed you up and potentially beat out the competition or cut costs? Or, I mean, there's a dozen or more implications that can come out of rendering data and getting the information to work better for you. So love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on today. And listeners, I hope you found a couple ideas that will help you be more profitable. And I know, just as I said, the exciting frontier of AI and how it can improve your business, your relations with your clients, your processes, and everything. I know that there's a way if you just let it in and don't be afraid of it and use the tool correctly to boost your business. I know it'll be great. All right. Well, speaking of boosting your business, how would you like to boost your profitability by 45% in just 30 days? Don't think it's possible? Of course it's possible. Check out my new training called the 30-Day Profit Booster. This quick and easy profit boosting strategy can be done without spending more on marketing, hiring additional staff, or working longer hours. Go get more information at 30dayprofitbooster.com. So, okay, since this has been such a fantastic topic, I know listeners, you've got comments, you've got questions. Put them in the feedback, put them in the comments for the link in the show, and Rich and I will respond back. So while you're at it, please subscribe. You don't want to miss next week's podcast. So you can catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. So looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thank you so much, Rich.
Thanks, Marcia.